Would you consider yourself an extrovert now? Would you say you're converting? Yeah.
I've always been.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm an introvert.
Was it society that pushed you to be an introvert, though? You think you're naturally an extrovert?
No, I'm naturally an introvert. No, actually, it kind of happened in phases. I would say as a young kid, I wanted to be up in everybody's business. You know what I'm saying? But as time went on, I kind of became more reserved and judgmental and couldn't fit in every crowd, or maybe I was a nuisance or trouble. And then I grew into my adult years. Now I want to be responsible. I can't be around all those people. People are negative and ignorant, and I'm like, nah, I'd just rather be alone. Or I get into a group of people that don't share healthy conversations or educated conversations. And I'm like, this is stupid. You guys just gossip all the time. I don't even want to be a part of this. And I withdrew from a lot of things. But I was always an extrovert because of my business, working. I understood how you had to communicate with others to become successful or to be even enjoyable in somebody's home. I mean, I've been doing flooring since I was 18. So I, right off the bat, had to get comfortable talking to customers and all that type of stuff. And that's what really made me more extrovert than anything, because I became, one, probably more comfortable sharing the thoughts that I have. And I had to learn how to communicate with people on all different personality platforms and traits. And it just really kind of, I become obsessed with it to an extent. I wanted to talk to the customer. I wanted to get them to like me.
You enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it.
It's
and
fun.
the challenge of it too.
The same way.
But now I've become intelligent to some people, and I'm more confident. So now when I enter a conversation, if it's another intelligent individual, it's easy to keep it going. And I don't have that insecurity or drive to withdraw anymore. I get drawn in, and then it just goes for days, you know, just like this, you know what I'm saying?
And that's exactly why I asked that, because, you know, the introvert thing is such a popular thing now. Everybody thinks they're an introvert. And I don't know. I think there is truly introverts and extroverts. I think there is some people that are just introverts naturally. But I will say that I think there's a lot of people that are extroverts that society made them introverts. Yeah. And I think that's what happened to me. I think and I think growing up as like a skateboarder in a small town community that was like a very country community, it wasn't just that. It had other things. You know, I grew up poor. I was a little bit skinny kid. I wasn't really super talented in anything. And then I started, I think I was an extrovert from a very young kid. I always wanted to talk to everybody, loved to meet new people, loved making new friends and just hanging out with people all the time. Always wanted to be involved in everything. And then, because of some of those things in my life that maybe somebody should have told me, like, hey, I think I just didn't have like the right influence at a very young age to like help shape me into who I was wanting to be. And how are you supposed to even know? How is anybody supposed to know who you want to be? Right. But I think because of some of the problems I had, it pushed me, because I remember going places and introducing myself to people, like in high school, like walking up to new people, and they would just look at me and be like, I don't like you. Straight up. Never met this person in my entire life. Never did nothing wrong to them. And, they were probably kids the same age as me or a little bit older, and they were just confused young kids too. But it messes with your head a little bit. Right. And I think things like that made me an introvert. People made fun of me for skateboarding. People made fun of me for being skinny. I got pushed around. And I think it made me an introvert. And then the same thing, whenever I started doing things for myself, started going to the gym, started like fixing problems. Like I think maybe I became a little pessimistic maybe, or a little negative, or like I had something go wrong in my life and I held on to it like with a grudge because I thought that was the right way to handle it. And it took growing up and looking at myself really closely and learning some things like, okay, this is not the way to handle it. You got to, and start and take responsibility for things. Right. That's whenever I started, and that's when I really started to like pull back to the extrovert ways and start realizing, that there is a lot of nice people out there. Not everybody's like those people. Ignore that, because I held on to like, maybe 1 out of 1,000 people were a jerk to me, but I held on to it. Right. And that's what made me like an introvert and kind of like push the other way. But then I started realizing like, oh, not everybody's like that. And it was also things that maybe I did. I dressed like a punk. I looked like a punk. I acted like a punk. And so people started treating me like a punk. Yeah. And just judging me by what I looked like, and so I kind of had it coming sometimes. And so I started fixing little problems. I started looking at myself closely, and then I started realizing like, oh, not everybody's like that, and I'm the same way. I love talking to people. Like my favorite thing about my business is talking to customers. Yep. I love walking through I try to make sure I learn everybody's names, and I walk through the gym and I ask everybody how their day's doing. I try to learn things about them, and like I will waste a half of an 8-hour day just talking to people.